love this format. So it's great to be the last speaker. I'm talking about how to maximize the value of your business. Why is that important? If you want a bank loan, right, they're looking at the risk factors of, you're nodding your head, they're looking at the risk factors and how valuable your company is. If you want to sell your business, which is what I do, that is the ultimate guide to what your value is. There may be valuation people in this room. Please don't take this wrong. My CPA said my business is worth this. We go out and run a process. Not one buyer will pay that valuation. So the real value is what the market will pay for your business. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, after I get past the cybersecurity. Okay, maximize your company's value. Probably why the Florida CFO group wanted me to speak was because I am the biggest proponent of fractional CFOs. I hired one. I had 3 companies in Atlanta. I hired a fractional CFO. I'd never heard of a fractional CFO. I had the CFO of Georgia Pacific. He had retired. He came in and took my business, and our financials were on steroids. It really helped me when we went to sell the business. So I have hired fractional CFOs. We have worked with about, not every one of the Florida CFOs, but we worked with a lot of them in sales and prepping companies for sale. So my typical business owner, I ask them, tell me about your financials. My financials are great. I have an unbelievable CPA firm. They've been with me for 20 years. So we're looking at taking on this company as a client. I call the CPA firm. Tell me about Dan's business. You've been the CPA firm for 20 years. All we do for them is their taxes. We don't do their financials, we just file a tax return. So the business owner's mindset is phenomenal accounting. The CPA is like, I don't really know, I just get what they give me, I file the tax return. Okay, so that's a big disconnect. Let's fast forward to, I'm going to go sell my company. We have a letter of intent for $20 million for this company. Guess what the private equity or buyer is going to do? They are hiring Price Waterhouse, Ernst & Young, one of the top CPA firms typically in the country, and they are going to absolutely shred your financials. They will send a team. We had a company we sold not too long ago, $20 million in revenue. The buyer spent $2 million on due diligence. It was overkill. It was just the way. They were not going to make a mistake. They said, we're not ever going to make a mistake buying a company. Because they have a fiduciary responsibility to their investors. So what do? They signed that letter of intent. They hired 5 companies. They had like Ernst & Young. They had one of the biggest law firms in the country. We had 1 lawyer on the call. They had 13. Real estate lawyer, M&A, HR. They had it all. They hired an environmental specialist. They hired an operational team. They had a big insurance company looking at everything. So the ultimate value of your business is what the market will pay. So how do you increase the value? First and foremost, this is pretty easy. Make more money. Okay? So the book I wrote, Turn Your Blood, Sweat, and Tears into Cash. Let me tell you what my job is. Owner comes in, they've had it for 30 years. We look at their financials. We say, we think your business is worth $12 million. And the owner goes, oh my God, it's got to be worth more than that. I have 35 years of my life. I've got my blood, sweat, and tears into this. So that's where the name of this book came from. So I wrote a book about how to increase the value. So first, number one thing, accounting. Get your financials, pay, get an audit, get reviewed financials, get a fractional CFO. Because if you are going to sell your business, get a loan, you need good accounting. So that is the number one thing I would say. So what are they? Okay, we already did that. So this, you can't probably see, I don't know if you can see it. This is valuations for manufacturing, business services, healthcare, and it shows per year, and you'll see that the multiple of cash flow, that's how most businesses are sold, not all, is sold on a multiple of cash flow, typically called EBITDA, which is your free cash flow. We won't go into that, most of you know what it is. But people go, well, how did they come up with these multiples? How did they come up with these multipliers? Well, it's actually very simple. There's a lot to it, but it's a simple concept. If you have more risk, that multiple is going down. So let me give you an example. You are a one-person dentist. You're a one-person CPA firm. You're a one-person ad agency. You're a one-person CFO. You want to sell your business. You take home $200,000 a year, you'll probably get about $200,000 for your business. One-time multiple on your cash flow. Okay? Now, let's say you're not a one-person dentist. Let's say you have 15 dental offices all over the United States, and your EBITDA is $10 million. Well, you may get a 15 times. So people will come in my office and go, I need to get 15 times EBITDA. I'm like, well, you know, great, right. I go, great, that's great. But again, it goes back to the risk factor. So hopefully that was a good example of one factor in that valuation. So they're going to look at how good are your financials, how good are your margins, what industry are you in. If you're a software company with huge margins, they get incredible multiples. Very different if you have to throw a lot of labor at a business, which is not as scalable. So we talked about excellent cash flow. That's number one, right? You make more money, your business is more valuable. The challenge is, in a company we just sold, they had lots of clients, but two of them were 80% of their revenue. And they kept getting more business and more business. Guess what the buyer said? He goes, we got to diversify this. And one, there's a lot of risk, right? You lose one, they lost one client, and all of a sudden they started losing money. And the owner's like trying to argue this, like we're getting more business from Walmart, Kmart, you know, but that increases the risk. So having a very diverse customer base will get you a lot more money. Let me give you one example. HVAC, heating and air conditioning. The residential heating and air conditioning, plumbing companies are going for these huge multiples right now. And one is because a lot of it is recurring revenue, you have contracts, it's a sticky relationship. If you're a residential plumber, residential HVAC, you have an incredibly diverse business. Now flip to the commercial HVAC. Some of them may go, I've got the Walmart account and all over Florida. Well, that's great. 50% of your business is in one. Same business, totally different risk factor. So we talked about improving EBITDA, good margins. A lot of private equity buyers and strategic buyers will call and go, I don't want to look at anything that doesn't have an EBITDA of 15% or greater. And that's actually shocked a lot of business owners I've talked to. They're like, you know, I did 10 million in revenue, I had $1 million in EBITDA, that's 10%. That's a nice living. But they're like, you can explain that to the buyer. I go, no, they have a mandate. They won't even look at you. So Margins are very important. Management team. This is always a good one for smaller businesses. So, true story. We've got a family-owned, we do a lot of family businesses. We have a husband and wife, and I think it was their son, right? So the management team is made up of 4. 3 of them are family members. Like, hey, what do y'all want to do after the sale? Do you want to stay involved? Well, my wife and I, we're going to retire, and my son wants to leave too. This can be, now they're all critical sales roles and finance roles, and so we have a buyer on the call. Just could not have been a better gentleman, perfect. We wanted to buy it. They're explaining, hey, it's fine, you know, I'm going to leave, my wife's going to leave, my son's going to leave. And the guy was so nice. He said, look, I get that you don't think this is a big deal, but losing 75% of the management team after closing is a deal breaker for us. And he just said it so nice, and I just thought it was just such a great example of that's a real risk factor. And we had a gentleman in Boston. He had his nephew that was running the company. He was 78. His nephew's making $300,000 a year. I think he was like 32 years old. He's like, he's family, he'll stay, golden handcuffs, HR. This is an HR issue. Tie your key employees down, especially in this market. So here's what's going on. He's like, he'll stay. We get a huge offer for the company. And it is all predicated on the general manager staying. Private equity group guy goes, I don't want anybody there, I don't want you there, I don't want the owner there, I want to have one-on-one, this is the guy, he's our key person. Saturday they meet, I get a call from the private equity guy, deal's off. I go, what do you mean? He wants more money, he wants, 2 months off, he wants equity. I mean, he basically put a gun to our seller's head and said, I'm only going to do this deal if I get this, and this. And I see that a lot. I have people come in my office, we're not selling their company, and they come in and go, we don't have a non-compete. They're trying to sell the company, and if they don't let us buy it, we're going to go across the street and compete. So business owners, wake up. This is a really critical, it's a risk factor, it drives your valuation.